Hi there. Have you ever wondered where this thing called a piano came from? Where was it invented? What different forms did it take? We're going to take a few minutes and get some answers to those questions. Some time ago, perhaps thousands of years, it likely happened that a man figured something out. If a stretchy material is fastened between two rigid poles and then plucked, it makes a musical sound. Manipulating the material, or the relative tightness of the band, gave rise to different sounds, and behold, the piano had its inception. The hammered dulcimer is considered the earliest ancestor of the piano, based on the fact that the strings were played by striking them with a small hammer. The psaltery, on the other hand, was played by plucking the strings with a plectrum, or finger. As time went on, more improvements were made to these early designs. In the mid-12th century, we start to see the strings put into rigid boxes, and keys added to play each string. Eventually, we have what is today recognized as the clavichord. Around 1350, the Germans started putting different types of strings through steel plates. At that time, strings might have been made out of iron, gold, silver, brass, gut, horsehair, and nylon. By 1400, the clavichord had 10 strings. Since about 1450, the keyboard arrangement that we have on the modern piano has remained basically the same, the only difference being the color of the keys. Originally, the white keys were black and the black keys were white. In the early 1400s, we have the first mention of harpsichords, which were much more developed clavichords. Usually, harpsichords had about 4 octaves and were played by means of keys connected to individual plectrums that plucked the strings as the key was pressed. The big problem up until now, of course, is that a pluck was all it was, a single pluck of a single string that could not be made louder or softer or be sustained. In the first decade of the 18th century, Bartolomeo Cristofori invented what he called the gravicembali col piano e forte, or harpsichord with soft and loud. He made about 10 of them, but they didn't immediately catch on, so he went back to making harpsichords. It wasn't until half a century later in 1760 when pianos really became popular. This was because 12 instrument makers, known as the 12 Apostles, came to England and started making pianos. In 1768, J.C. Bach gave the first ever piano recital on one of these Apostles' pianos. The piano he played was likely square in shape, although there were pianos made that resembled the harp shape of the harpsichord. It was not until 1771 that a man named Robert Stoddard took out a patent using the name grand to describe his piano. In 1800, a British fellow named John Isaac Hawkins invented what we know today as the upright piano. According to one price list, a 6-octave grand in 1815 cost £40. In today's money, that's about $4,500. By 1911, there were 136 piano makers in England. 133 were based in London. In the 20th century, piano design and construction stayed fairly constant. Many pianos played in schools and homes today date back to the early 1900s, and they continue to stand the test of time. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the history of pianos. From a single cord stretched between 2 rigid poles, to 9-foot grand pianos spanning 8 octaves, the piano has had an amazing journey. The ingenuity and craftsmanship of the inventors can certainly be seen in the clavichord, the harpsichord, and the modern piano.
Ouch.